Hey guys, so today I have swatches of the two newest collections from Cirque Colors. I have the Glazed collection, which just came out last week, and then I also have the Encore collection that came out last month because I'm a little bit behind. I will link the Cirque Colors website down below where you guys can check these out. I do have a coupon/affiliate code with Cirque Colors, which will be on the screen and in the description box. I also have comparisons for these polishes, which will be at the end of the video, and I'll have a timestamp up here on the screen for when the comparisons start. 13 polishes altogether, so I will get into the swatches. So these are the boxes that Cirque Colors polishes come in. I like to try to show these if I remember to. The first polish is called Mango Jelly, and this is described as a yellow-orange jelly polish with a shiny, transparent finish. A little housekeeping, I have a few little bits of leftover gel glue from those extensions that you saw a couple clips ago. I can't get the rest of it off, and I'm letting it grow out, so you might see some slight patchiness from that. It's kind of easy to spot though. So this is a jelly, so it's sheer by design. It does build up pretty well. It's very even, and the formula feels really good. Another thing that I like about this is that it doesn't look like I have egg yolk on my nails, which some yellow jellies can look very egg yolky, and this one doesn't. It's very bright and kind of sunshiny. This color built up really nicely in 3 coats with just a bit of nail line peeking through. So that is 3 coats of Mango Jelly. The next polish is called Starfruit Jelly, and this is described as a chartreuse jelly polish with a shiny, transparent finish. Also, my toddler was like violently shaking me while I was trying to film these bottle shots, so they're a little choppy. So it's a jelly, so it's sheer. It's fairly even, and the formula is really good, but it's definitely less saturated than Mango Jelly was. Even though it was much less saturated on that first coat, it does still build up pretty well on the second coat, and it stays very even as well also. I got pretty decent color payoff out of this one with 3 coats. It's a jelly, so obviously it stays pretty sheer, but I was happy with how this looked. I was a little skeptical on the first coat, but I was happy with how it turned out after 3. And before I get too deep into this, there are also a lot of nail art applications for sheer jelly polishes like this, especially very brightly colored ones. So that is 3 coats of Starfruit Jelly. The next polish is called Pink Lady Jelly, and this is described as a cool-toned medium pink with a shiny, transparent finish. Also a little less saturated, less color payoff on the first coat. Honestly, I don't know if I would call this less because there's only 2 polishes in the collection that had like a really saturated color payoff on the first coat. I just happened to swatch one of them first, so I'm comparing everything to that, but it still builds up fine in 2 and 3 coats. You start to get a little bit more of that pink color, and it stays very even, and the formula is very good. Again, happy with the color that I got after 3 coats. It stayed sheer, it's a jelly, a nice little peak of nail line in there, but a good pink color. So that is 3 coats of Pink Lady Jelly. The next polish is called Lagoon Jelly, and this is a robin egg blue jelly polish with a shiny, transparent finish. Again, a little less saturated on the first coat if I'm comparing it to Mango Jelly, but good formula. I do feel like this one was slightly less even, but not terrible, and it still built up fine. Just starting out of the gate, it wasn't as even as other colors had been. It built up nicely and evened out really nicely in that 3rd coat, and I actually feel like this one was, I mean, obviously there's still nail line there, but it's slightly less sheer, a little bit less nail line than other colors in the collection. So that is 3 coats of Lagoon Jelly. The next polish is called Poppy Jelly, and this is a bright, warm red jelly with a shiny, transparent finish. Very saturated on the first coat, really good formula, and very even coverage. It built very well on the second coat. I was really happy with the color. I feel like I probably could have just worn it this way, but if I'm giving 3 coats to everything else, I wanted to give 3 coats to this one as well. It did build up color-wise, built up a little bit better here on the 3rd coat, and was almost completely opaque. If I looked really closely, I could see a little bit of nail line, but not much. It was like just sheer enough to still be really shiny and squishy. So that is 3 coats of Poppy Jelly. And the last polish from the Glazed collection is called Blurple Jelly, and this is a blue-purple polish with a shiny, transparent finish. Great formula on this, very even, which is exactly what you need out of a jelly. It needs to be even. I would say saturation-wise, it's a little bit more saturated than like Lagoon or Starfruit, but not as saturated as like Poppy or Mango. That's really splitting hairs though, because there's not a huge difference between this and Starfruit or Lagoon. It builds up really well on the second coat. The color starts to build up really nicely, and it stays very even, and then it continues to build on that 3rd coat. You get a good color, still fairly sheer, nice and squishy and shiny. So that is 3 coats of Blurple Jelly. So before I get into the Encore collection, there are a couple of other things that launched earlier in February that I'm behind on because I'm always behind. So first is the Cirque Colors 11th anniversary celebration birthday cake scented cuticle oil pen. This is just nice, clicky, portable cuticle oil in, like I said, a birthday cake scent. And the other thing that launched before the Encore collection is this polish called Alchemy. So this is a magnetic polish, and on the website it's described as a gray nail polish with gold magnetic pigment, which is very confusing to me, but it's a nice warm gold. So this is definitely sheer on that first coat. It is very even and the formula is very good, but it's definitely sheer. It does have a nice strong magnetic effect to it. It does start to build well on that second coat, surprisingly well, but again stays pretty sheer. You can still see my nail line very clearly, but that magnetic line also stays very clear and very sharp. The third coat does build up well, but it stays sheer. You can see my nail line in there pretty clearly, but this is a really cool shade of gold magnetic. I really like this, so I'm not super mad about it still being a little bit sheer. So that is 3 coats of Alchemy magnetized, and then I also have it in 3 coats, or did I only do 2 coats? Shoot, I might have only done 2 coats here unmagnetized. I didn't write it down, I apologize. Moving into the Encore collection, the first polish is called Odette, and this is described as a cool-toned pale pink sheer polish. And sheer it is. So it is very sheer, very see-through on that first coat. There's a slight pink tone to it and a slight milkiness. There is enough milkiness to tell that it's very even on the first coat though, which is very important. Also, really good formula. It builds very nicely in 2 coats and stays very even, which is impressive on its own, but also even more impressive because of the leftover gel bits that are on my nail here, that this just plows right over and evens out. This builds up really nicely in 3 coats, stays very even. I like this a lot more than I thought I would after that third coat is on. So that is 3 coats of Odette. So the next polish is called Bisou Bisou, and this is a sky blue to baby pink thermal nail polish, so it changes color based on temperature, which is very cool in the winter. So good formula on this one, very even. It's a bit sheer, kind of like milky sheer. That's pretty typical for thermal polishes. It is this light blue shade when it's cold, and then it turns into a baby pink when it's warmer. This does dry dull, which is pretty typical for thermal polishes. It builds up pretty well on the second coat, still a little bit sheer with the nail line showing, but stays very even. It continues to build up here on the third coat, but it does not get completely opaque for me. I could still pick out my nail line pretty clearly, and it's going to be more obvious if your nails are a lot longer than mine. So that is 3 coats of Bisou Bisou. And here is a sped up shot of that thermal transition because I learned to use a blow dryer after like a decade of fumbling around with warm and cold water, and I'm pretty excited about it. The next polish is called Tiny Dancer, and this is described as a light pink flash reflective glitter polish topper. So here is one quick coat as a topper over Odette. I really like this. It's got a nice sparkle to it, even outside of like bright flash, which is going to show those reflective particles. It's still sparkly even in your regular everyday lights. It's a reflective glitter, so it is going to dry very textured. You're going to want a good top coat to smooth this out, and it is going to be more difficult to remove. And here it is, again, 1 coat over Odette, but with the flash on, so you can see what that flash reflective glitter can really do. So that is 1 coat of Tiny Dancer. So the next polish is called Coquette, and this is described as their shimmer graphic finish. So multicolored shimmer graphic nail polish topper with a rainbow color shifting aurora shimmer and intense scattered holographic effect. So I kind of missed the memo that this was described as a topper, so I just have it here in 3 coats on its own. So the formula was very good. It's very sheer, but I guess I didn't realize it was a topper. I mean, I guess I knew that it could double as a topper, but whatever. Either way, very sparkly, builds up pretty nicely actually on 3 coats. Still a little bit of nail line showing, but nothing out of the ordinary. And there's just a lot going on here. There's the shimmer, the holographic, it's a different color from different angles. It looked very purple in the bottle. It looks more pink on my nails. It's a hard one to nail down. Also, I just ran down the stairs, so my heart rate's up and I'm talking very fast. But that is 3 coats of Coquette on its own. The next polish is called Sylph, and this is described as a sheer white pearl polish with ultra smooth pearlescent shimmer. And this can be layered over other colors or worn on its own, and I'll show you both ways. This is sheer. It's very frosty. It's pearly. There's brush strokes. I feel like the brush strokes are kind of implied now when something is described as pearl or pearlescent. It does build up really nicely in 2 coats. You can still see a little bit of nail line, and there's a little bit of like pink color just from my skin tone coming through. That does go away almost completely on that third coat. If I look very closely, I could still pick out a little bit of nail line, but it's not terrible. So that is 3 coats of Sylph on its own, and then I also have it over just some random colors that were on my desk at the time, just so you can see how this looks layered over other shades. And the last polish is called Black Swan, and this is described as a black polish with holographic magnetic pigment. And spoiler, this is really, really cool. A holographic magnetic is not something that's been on my radar. Maybe I've seen it, but just not in a shade this dark. Very cool. So this is sheer and jelly on that first coat. The magnetic effect doesn't seem super strong here on the first coat, and I was honestly not very impressed with this right out of the gate. Now the magnetic effect is still kind of weak here on the second coat. It's definitely not as strong as something like Alchemy. I don't know if that's because it's also holographic, that the magnetic particles are a little watered down maybe and don't pull to that magnet quite as strong. But on a darker base, as it starts to build up in 2 or 3 coats, you can see it a lot better. With 3 coats, it was pretty much opaque for me. I feel like I could see a little bit of nail line if I looked closely, but not terrible. And just for reference, here it is unmagnetized in normal lighting, and I'm going to show you what it looks like under flash, which is my best attempt at replicating what this will look like in the sunlight as well to get that holographic effect. Okay, so to build suspense, here it is unmagnetized under the flash, so you can kind of see that holographic effect that you get out of the pigment. It's not as strong as you would get from like a very linear holographic because it's also mixed with magnetic pigment. And sorry, this looks so stupid only being on one nail, but oh my gosh, this looks so cool. Magnetized under the flash, which again is what it would look like under the sunlight. It is, I'm like shocked. I did not expect it to look this cool. This is not a color that I would hear the description of and gravitate towards, but I love how this looks on my nails. So that is 3 coats of Black Swan. I don't have every jelly that Cirque Colors has made, but I have amassed quite a few of them when I look around in the last couple of months. So I feel like I've got some pretty good comparisons here. The first one that I have is mango jelly, and I have that next to mustard jelly. So obviously mustard is darker, oranger in comparison, makes mango jelly look very, very yellow, even though on its own it has a slight orange tone to it. So nothing super close there. I'm not trying to like blow through this either. I've just been working on this video for literally 4 weeks and I'm almost done. It's making me talk fast. So I have starfruit, you know what? I did this backwards. I have starfruit jelly. This should have been in the middle and I don't really know. Oh, I know why I did that because this is Lagoon. Okay, never mind. We're fine. Okay, so I have starfruit jelly here and Lagoon jelly here. And the reason I put these together is because the only one that I had that was even remotely close is jade jelly, which is in the middle. It's, I mean, it really is the middle ground between these 3 colors. So Lagoon comes off much more blue. Jade is that kind of like dusty, almost like sagey green jelly. I actually really like this one. And then starfruit is that bright yellowy green. So nothing close here. For pink lady jelly, which is right here in the center, I have peach jelly, which is obviously peachier, not really close. They're both pinks, but they're not. They're like on different planets of pink. And then rose jelly here, which you could argue is comparable to peach, but not so much to pink lady jelly. So here I have poppy jelly and hearth jelly. Again, not super close. Hearth is that almost like dusty, muted, pinky red, where poppy jelly is very, very bright candy red. And finally, I have Blurple Jelly, which is right here in the middle. Next to that, I have Haze Jelly, which is that really dusty, smoky purple. And I have Cobalt Jelly, which is a much brighter, like true cobalt blue, where Blurple, again, is like kind of in the middle between the two. So nothing super comparable there either. So moving on to the Encore collection and Alchemy, the only one that I don't have anything close to is Black Swan. This is a pretty unique polish, not just to my Cirque Colors collection, but to my entire collection in general. The really dark gray holographic magnetic. I mean, in this state, not so much, but magnetic, yes. So we're just gonna skip right over this one. Okay, so for Alchemy, the closest one that I have is Cosplay Lame. Unfortunately, it's not like the fairest comparison because Alchemy is magnetic and Cosplay Lame is not. So here is Alchemy here. It looks like very pale on camera. It's much more of a yellow, I guess it's hard to say because Cosplay Lame is also very yellow, but Alchemy is more of like a rich, like gold, I guess, almost leaning a little bit into the orange tone, where Cosplay Lame is very, very yellow. And again, Alchemy is magnetic, so it's not the best comparison, but hopefully at least gives you an idea of the color. For Odette, I have Rose Jelly right here, which is much deeper, not quite as cool toned, and just really not super comparable. And then next to Odette, which is here, I have Chiffon, which again is leaning more nude, more peachy. It is looking a little washed out on camera too. I keep lifting my lights up to see if that will fix it, but it's not working super well. So no even remotely close dupes here. So for Bisou Bisou, I have Kismet right here and Morning Tide right here. Again, this is a tough comparison to make because Bisou Bisou is a thermal polish, so it's not always going to be this color. I'm kind of just making comparisons based on the cold state. Kismet looks much more purple in the bottle than it comes off on this swatch here, which is why I picked it, but it really doesn't look very close when it's actually next to Bisou Bisou. Also, I feel like it's warmer in my house than it usually is because this is Bisou Bisou in the bottle, and obviously we're getting that like mid-tone purpley color out of this rather than the blue that it is when it's cold. So it's blue when it's cold, purple when it's like room temp, and then it's pink when it's actually warm. I'm just gonna like put this in my pants for a second and we'll see what it looks like when it's warm. So you can see it's a little more pink and it's gonna cool back down probably as I'm talking to that purpley color. Next I have Tiny Dancer, which is right here, and Morganite, which is right here. Now these look really close as far as the glitter and everything goes. This is 3 coats of Tiny Dancer as well. They both have a really nice sparkle to them, the difference being that Tiny Dancer is that reflective glitter, so it's gonna have that really bright glow under flash, and a little bit of a different sparkle even outside of that kind of lighting, where Morganite is holographic with holographic flakies. It's gonna dry smoother than Tiny Dancer, and also really is not maybe it could be used as a topper, but it's not really designed to be used as a topper. So Tiny Dancer comes off a little more pink, Morganite comes off a little more like tan, nude, but close here if you're not considering what the reflective glitter can do. So for Coquette, the closest thing that I could find was Crying Contest, which is really not comparable. Coquette has that contrasting shimmer. Now, to be fair, Crying Contest does as well, but it's a gold shimmer and it comes off a little smoother and a little less like chunky sparkly than it does with Coquette, and there is much more holographic glitter in Coquette than in Crying Contest, aside from the color being completely different. So for Sylph, I'm going to try to be very careful because when I took the swatch wheel out of my pants to show the thermal, I like caught this one and kind of ripped it off a little bit, so it's hanging by a thread. So I have Sylph right here in 3 coats. It's gonna be very hard to see because this is a white swatch wheel, but it's that little slight pearly finish there. What I have next to it is Mother of Pearl. Again, not the fairest comparison because Mother of Pearl is magnetic, but Mother of Pearl comes off much more like almost silvery. It's got a little bit more of like a foil looking component to it. It doesn't have that pearliness, the brush strokes that Sylph has. And also, aside from being a magnetic, Sylph is that like kind of glazed pearly topper. It's also meant to be worn over other colors. So not super comparable there either. So Black Swan was actually a very surprise favorite for me. When I was doing the swatches, I mentioned that if I had just read the description of this polish, it would not have piqued my interest at all, but it looked so cool on the nails. That holographic stripe down the middle, and to be fair, the magnetic stripe is not like the strongest magnetic that I've ever used, but it also being holographic totally makes up for that for me. It looks so, so cool. I really, really like this one. So those are the newest collections from Cirque Colors. Again, I will link the Cirque Colors website down below where you guys can check those out. I also have my coupon/affiliate code, which will be on the screen and in the description box. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will talk to you later.